to a different area and things like that. And anyway, well, pretty much they Jessica and Stay suggested, probably we should, record ourselves, with this hangout and upload it on YouTube and things like that. Probably get some viewer and things like that. And they were suggesting that, and I was just replying to them that currently, just watching out for the police officer and things like that. And I would probably want to focus on that first, before the YouTube suggestion and things like that. I don't, like I was saying, maybe if, I don't know, like, maybe if I did went with Jessica's suggestion on recording that night, maybe I would have evidence that, I'm not alone, including antisocial, so maybe if I did went with this suggestion, could have some evidence that I'm not alone and antisocial all the time and things like that, it's like, Then, it's like toward like the morning, like toward 4 to 5 a.m. in the morning, we start having activities. What if the police officer chasing after us? So we can start creating scenario. What if the police officer is chasing after us? So we created some, escape routes. If just in case like the police officer is chasing us, and how to go through, using those escape routes and things like that. And anyway, during one of the scenario, I outrun it Jessica, and remember all of a sudden, Stay was saying, "Did you just outrun it, Jessica?" And it's like, kind of, I would reply, we're just creating scenarios. We're not really running from the police officer or anything like that. It's like, basically, I didn't tell them that I hold the miles run record in Mission Bay High School. Basically, I beat all the truck runners in the Mission Bay High School. The truck runner and the cross country runners. I mean, I kind of casually told them that I played in some sports team before and things like that, and I didn't tell them that I was holding the mile run record at Mission Bay High School for outrunning all the cross country runners and track runners. Nevertheless, it was like it's saying, I think, it wouldn't really hurt me if I did let Jessica outran me. It's like, it's a scenario and things like that. and she is the one who made it possible for that night hanging out and things like that. I felt, you know, in return, I made it possible for her to outrun me. It felt like it seems possible and things like that. And anyway, so I kind of changed the subject. We, like I was saying, we just one of the scenarios is we so happen to we're running on the sand and seems like I outran it Jessica and things like that. So it kind of changed the subject, just like forget about that scenario and things like that. And remember, as like Jessica was saying that maybe we could have another race and things like that. And I was saying like maybe just let's try a different scenario and things like that. And maybe I should have. Yeah, I think it probably would have been better during the talk. I told them that I had to mile run record in Mission Bay High School. I think it would have cleared out that talk. And it's like anyway, like I was just saying that it was just in a way, I felt that basically that night seems like really didn't have that problem with being alone, including antisocial and things like that. Also, if I went with their suggestion on recording it that night, then I would have had some evidence to prove that I'm not always alone, including antisocial all the time. basically after scenarios is we felt like we could have make the getaway from the police officer if the police officer did got too close up around us and things like that. Like making those scenarios there's on the escape routes and things like that. And pretty much toward the end, they were telling me that if we do decided to hang out more often, like more, they would help me to be on the lookout for police officer and things like that. And basically, I just want to point out that line that Jessica and Stay said. The police officer doesn't don't like anyone. They're not discriminate to anyone. They just don't like anyone. So in other words, the police officer not purposely going against me. They just don't like anyone. Okay, anyway, I'm going to read a part of Vulnerability Do Not Read It document. Pretty much in the beginning, I have two different introduction. One of the introduction is titled it as Brief Introduction, and the other introduction is titled it as Introduction to Vulnerability Do Not Read It. So I'm just gonna read the brief introduction. The other introduction is very long, so I'm just gonna quickly read the brief introduction. On November 2015, my father, Chong Wan Lam, invited me over for dinner. During the dinner talk, he asked me to come live with him. At one glance, it is just another day, father and son having dinner together, including the regular dinner talk. But deep down, I know I have failed him, because if he didn't ask me to come live with him, it is equivalent to I have got rejected by society, would have led me to starve to death. In China, he lived in a wealthy mansion with servants at his service. He had wealth, connections, and power. He could speak the Chinese language fluently and familiar with the Chinese cultures and lifestyle. He is well informed and know what is going on. He preferred it to Chinese doctors for his health related checkup and so on. He returned to the USA for a reason. That reason is fill in the blank. I've been using the following line frequently. The harder I try to make my writing important so that people would read it, the harder I'm going to hurt myself when no one read it. Priority 1. Stop being alone, including antisocial. Priority 2. Build awareness of my situation. Priority 3. Have diplomatic immunity to my situation. Priority 1 through 3 could be argued in both ways, having been achieved and have been achieved. I hate to walk into a conference room full of people feeling like priority 1 through 3 have achieved it and found out it haven't been achieved. Vice versa, I hate to rejected a conference room invitation because I felt like priority 1 through 3 haven't been achieved and found out it have been achieved. It is very confusing, and it is going to be even more confusing. But I'm going to keep it at, yes, the world have beat me many times and would eventually make me starve to death. Coincidentally, I have a father like many people. He doesn't want me to starve to death. Okay, so that is the brief introduction. So I'm just gonna read a part of it from Introductions to Vulnerability. Do not read it. Okay, this part is, so pretty much in that introduction to vulnerability, do not read it. I broke that introduction to multiple parts. This part I'm going to read have the headline, Me and My Father is Being Set Up. I wrote the following about my father, Chungwan Lam, in making my life into one decision. I would argue it is all a big setup. He is being played. One Hong Kong citizen taking on the governments of Cambodia and Vietnam, including those two country war. One person against two country. So pretty much that's what I wrote about my father. And then the next part. As for me, I wrote the following about me in making my life into one decision. Quote 1. I grow up being oppressed by the following discouraged feedbacks about I will never be like my father. You will not be half of your father. You are far from becoming like your father. You will never be like your father, and no one care enough about you to even look at you. You want to be like your father, with a crowd of people would shed tears listening to him, making speeches and telling stories. Quote 2: that war is insignificant. He is insignificant. As for me, I'm jealous of him and want to kill him because he is much better than me. This means I'm much more insignificant than him and that war. Basically, those two quotes what I wrote about myself in making my life into one decision. Okay, so I'm gonna continue reading. Number 1, my father is set up to take on one person versus two countries. Number 2, I'm set up to go against a person who is set up to take on one person versus two countries. For argument's sake, the world have already decided to make one of the following two choices on number 1 and number 2. Choice 1. It is very obvious. The world know me and my father can't win, so the world took advantage of us. Example, the world taking advantage of us is like we have set up to have no chance of winning. I'm just gonna let the helicopters fly by. It's making too much sounds, might get in the way. Okay, so I'm gonna continue reading. Choice 2. It is very obvious. The world know me and my father can't win, so the world did nothing about it. Because it is very hard to help a person who is set up to take on one person versus two countries. I have to decide which one is more important, this setup or CTC curves, and the contradiction happen to those four topics. But it seems like this setup is the reason I'm being cursed by the CTC curse, and the contradiction happened to those four topics, because the world make either choices, choice 1 or choice 2. Me and my father can't win. Okay, so pretty much I just want to read those parts. Basically, I just want to point out that well, if I did have a camcorder with me that night when hanging out with Jessica and Stay, then I could have recorded that night and would have some evidence to show that I wasn't alone, including antisocial all the time. Would have some evidences. And but as for my father, he know I have a lot of problems as a son, and he still accepted me in his house. also he could have lived in China, and you know, like what I was saying, you know, if he lived in China, like what I wrote, basically, like if he lived in China, he would he would live in a wealthy mansion with servants at his service.